So get this. Over in Nepal, the government decided to ban social media, and the streets just exploded. We're talking massive youth protests. People died, and the prime minister was actually forced to resign. Now fast forward to today, and Australia is thinking about doing its own social media ban for anyone under 16. Now, it's a totally different situation, of course, but it brings up this huge, fascinating question. What actually happens when you try to unplug an entire generation? So first, let's look at this tale of two bans, Nepal and Australia. Yeah, the countries are different, the reasons are different, but the core action, taking away the phone, it's exactly the same. And when you put them side by side, the contrast is pretty wild. In Nepal, it was a total ban, and it sparked a full-on political revolution. Australia's idea is much more targeted, just for under 16s, with a focus on mental health. But you see that question mark there for Australia's outcome? Well, that's the big unknown, isn't it? And this really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. For the teenagers this whole policy is aimed at, a phone isn't just some gadget they use. It is completely woven into their identity, their social life, pretty much their entire world. You know, like the quote says, it's oxygen. And trying to take that away, that is a very, very big deal. But why is it such a big deal? Well, because what the government is talking about doing is basically pulling the plug on the dopamine pipeline. That's that constant, rewarding stream of likes, messages, and new content that just lights up the pleasure centers in our brains. So this isn't just about changing a rule, it's a massive neurological disruption. Okay, so given how high the stakes are, how are Australian teens actually going to react to this? Let's walk through 3 possible futures. I mean, it's the million-dollar question, right? Are they going to comply? Are they going to resist? Or are they going to do something nobody sees coming? You can almost see how this could escalate, step by step. It might start with just a simple shrug and some tech workarounds, but that could build into a more organized rebellion, and then, maybe, explode into a full-on protest wave. All right, so scenario 1. This is probably the most likely outcome. The teens just roll their eyes, download a VPN to hide their location, lie about their age on the apps, and just keep scrolling. In this world, the politicians get to stand up and claim a big win for child safety, but in reality, nothing really changes at all. But what if it goes a step further? What if the ban itself doesn't just lead to kids trying to get around it, but actually radicalizes them? And that brings us to our second scenario, the VPN rebellion. And this is where things could get really dangerous. The ban itself becomes the enemy. Social media just goes underground, and you risk creating an entire generation that is convinced the government is just some adversary trying to control their lives. And then there's the wild card, the one that everyone is hoping won't happen, but you know they're thinking about it, the protest wave. This is the Nepal scenario, where teens don't just get angry online, they get organized in the real world. So why would they protest so fiercely? Because for them, this isn't just another rule they don't like. It would feel like someone is literally ripping out a part of their daily nervous system. It's a visceral, personal attack on their entire way of life. Now let's flip this around and look at the political gamble. Because while this move might be popular with some people, for the government it is incredibly risky. And here is the government's dilemma in a nutshell. I mean, on paper, this policy is incredibly popular with parents and teachers, and those are huge groups of voters. But the risk of a massive youth backlash, it's just as high. This is a classic high-reward, high-risk political move. So what's the bottom line? Well, while the policy might look like a total slam dunk with adult voters, if they misjudge how young people are going to react, it could be absolutely catastrophic. As a political strategy, yeah, it could be suicide. And really, this is the ultimate lesson from what happens in Nepal. It's a stark warning to any government, anywhere. If you underestimate just how deeply this technology is integrated into young people's lives, you risk lighting a fire that you just cannot put out. So where does all this leave us? Well, it leaves us staring into this huge unknown. An unknown that's shaped by some of the most powerful and addictive forces in our modern world. You see, when you really boil it all down, it's clear that the Australian government isn't just trying to pass some law about an app or a gadget. No, it's doing something much, much bigger than that. They're directly stepping in and messing with the relationship between an entire generation and the single most addictive object of the modern era. And if history has taught us anything, it's that when you do that, things rarely go quietly. And so that leaves us with this final massive question. Australia is about to run a huge nationwide experiment, and the outcome is completely unpredictable. What really happens when you try to unplug a generation? I guess we're all about to find out.